as promised, now going to talk to the Leader of the Opposition and the Leader of the Liberal Party of Newfoundland and Labrador, Dwight. Dwight, how are you this morning?
Great, Tim. How you doing? Welcome home.
Yeah, I may never leave. As I say, it feels like Hotel California here. Maybe it's nicer in Deer Lake. I don't know. Is it nicer in Deer Lake?
Well, I'm actually in St. John's. I have not been talking to Deer Lake today, but I left there on, I think it was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, and it was just as cold there, too, with just less fog, of course.
Well, you know, if you become premier, first problem you're going to have to solve, never mind the economy, never mind population renewal, you're going to have to become the premier of weather. Can you pull that one off?
Well, interesting enough, you know, no matter where we go, the first topic of the conversation always comes down to the weather. It really don't feel like July out there, but of course there's lots of other issues, especially as we've been embarking on this road ahead tour in the last few weeks. It's lots of issues on the minds of people in the province, and you know, of course, one of them this week has been around Gull Island.
Yeah, on Gull Island, just on that, I've seen that you have said a couple of things. One, that effectively, I'm paraphrasing here, the cart's getting a little bit ahead of the horse here. That why are they doing it now? And two, it expressed concern about Quebec not being part of it. What other observations do you have about this announcement this week?
Well, you know, when you listen to what the Davis government has said, you know, and Minister Daly, of course, and his commentary about the development of Gull Island, what we saw yesterday coming out of the national media was a much different story than what Davis and them were saying on Monday. And just yesterday, again, we saw the Ontario Energy Minister, and what he's talking about is a very different development than Gull Island, because he's saying that they want a relatively small amount of power, and one which is really would be used to actually be a Band-Aid solution as they refurbish the nuclear plants in Ontario. So it's a much different project. It's not a commitment to a long-term development, which is what Gull Island, of course, would require. So this. And he quite clearly said that Gull Island is not even on the table right now. So it seems to me we had the minister here in Newfoundland and Labrador telling a very different story than what the energy minister is in Ontario. And on top of that, it was all about cost in Ontario, saying that the benchmark there would be what they pay for currently at their gas plants. So of course, you know, Gull Island, and today on the spot market we have energy at around 5 cents, and gas, you know, 3 cents or less. So it's you're not going to develop a Gull Island project on that. And on top of that, again, in the past, it's always been the commentary coming out of both Ed Martin and Nalcor and this government that in order for Gull Island to be feasible, we needed a corridor through Quebec. And so Quebec is not at the table. We already know there are a number of court challenges, you know, ongoing with Quebec right now. So this announcement, this commentary, as I said, that the minister from the Davis government just on Monday this week seems to be way premature, and I would consider to be a little irresponsible on top of that.
Let's drive down a little bit on a couple of things that you've said. You've talked about the different perspectives that have now come out from Newfoundland and from Ontario. As I understand the announcement, it's an agreement to discuss. If you become premier in November, what would you do here? Would you continue to pursue this, or would you take a different course?
Well, first of all, you know, looking for you need a market. I mean, this is, if you're going to be dealing with a customer and it hinges on cost, well, you're going to need a long-term commitment to wherever that customer is. But it's one thing to have a discussion with a province like Ontario in terms of saying, yes, you know, we'll buy your power. If you can't get the power to them, there's no way to get through Quebec in this particular case, and which was been always said in the past, this is the ideal way to do this, and it would not be feasible without doing this. If Quebec's not at the table, not part of the discussion, well, then you can negotiate and be successful all you want with the customer some long ways away. You don't have the capacity to get it to where it needs to be. Well, then, of course, you're just wasting your time at the negotiating table.
So you would end the negotiations if Quebec weren't part of it?
Well, you know, I think you've got to find a solution to get the power to the customer, either through Quebec or some other mechanism. But in the past, it's always been said by Ed Martin, the CEO of Nalcor, and this government, that the ideal way and the only way for it to be feasible would be through Quebec.
Okay. Just building on this, and then we'll move to, I know you want to talk about your meeting with the Atlantic Liberal leaders. What is the Liberal Party position on Gull Island? Would you, under the right circumstances, as you're describing, like to see it develop?
Absolutely. Any resources that we have in our province that can bring benefit to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, we want to work to get them done. But we're not going to put Newfoundlanders and Labradorians at risk in doing so. And right now, making those premature announcements, we've seen it with Statoil, we've seen it with CETA, where just a few weeks ago we've seen the Premier stand up in front of a large audience and talk about a pending deal with Statoil. Yet the next day we saw an executive from Statoil say, that this is, not really where the discussion is at the point. We saw it with CETA, where they even went ahead and had a little party at the rooms talking about CETA being finalized. So, this is not a way to negotiate, but to answer your question about Gull Island and any resources that we have in our province right now, Newfoundlanders and Labradorians would have to be the primarily beneficiary of all of this. And, we're talking about export only here. I also want to add to the table, but using our own resources, so it makes us more competitive when we go out and, reach out to industries and attract them to our province as well. So there's two things. Export right now is what this government is talking about, but I also want to include in the discussion way to bring industry to our province.
Now, talking about bringing people to things to the province, we want to have more population here in Newfoundland and Labrador. That's a tough one. You met with Premier McLaughlin from PEI, Premier McNeil from Nova Scotia, and Premier Gallant from New Brunswick. I guess when they were all here, you were talking about regional population renewal. Just give us a sense what those discussions were about and what you're thinking in terms of how you go about doing that.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Well, first and foremost, these are people that they're ministers or they're Liberal leaders in their own provinces right now. So, I've met with for instance, at McNeil many times right now, and Gallant and McLaughlin. I just had the opportunity to meet a couple times. But, I think any time there is opportunity as a leader of a political party, a leader in Newfoundland and Labrador, regardless of, I guess, their political stripe at all, if there's any discussion that we can have, we can find, some opportunity to discuss things on a regional basis, well, then we need to do that. And the reason I say when we talk about, population growth, we have less than 28,000, children in our province right now that are between 0 and 5 years. So we, 4,500 births a year as an example, Tim. So, we had to find a way to grow our population. But keeping in mind that when it comes to employment, it will always be Newfoundlanders and Labradorians first. But if there's ways that we can take Atlantic Canada as a region and do a market and be competitive globally, well then, we need to look at that. There always be unique differences, but, we got to find ways that we can work together. Even with our total population being where it is today, there's only two provinces that we would have more population than. That would be Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Yeah,
and we still have the challenges, obviously, of out-migration, volatile economy in different parts and the like. Well, PEI got in a little trouble, as you know, with different immigration initiatives they were pursuing. Where are you guys on immigration in terms of attracting people here?
Well, right now we have about 5% of our population that's actually born outside of Canada, in Atlantic Canada. Nationally that's over 20% in the rest of Canada. So it goes to show that we have not done a very good job in attracting immigrants to our province. We also know that one way to have economic development and to grow your economy is indeed to have more people living there, and so that's where we'd like to take it. I mean, every province would have a unique, they would see themselves as being unique and who they would attract and for what reasons they would attract them to. But, we have less than 28,000 people 5 years and under in our province right now. If we want to plan for the future, in our province, we're going to need people around to do that.
Well, good to have you on today, Dwight. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, and good luck with your summer tour. I know it's like everybody's in a permanent campaign now, whether you're provincial or federal. You're all working towards a particular date, and I hope the weather improves for you and everybody else today.
Absolutely, Tim. Rain or shine, we're going to be there. We're going to be talking to people in their communities, and we'll be on the road this afternoon. We'll be in Bay Roberts and Twillingate tomorrow. And one thing I will say is in my own district, of course, being the leader now, and as we're going around the province, there's a number of events and festivals and things in my own district that I haven't been able to miss, but I really appreciate the support of the people that I have back in my home district. They allow me to do this, and I thank them for that.
All right, good to talk to you, Dwight. Take care.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim. Bye-bye.
That was Dwight, Liberal leader. Going to take a quick break here now. VOCM's Open Line. Just a reminder, you want to get me, openline@vocm.com and on Twitter @Powers. Tim, before we go, this weather may help population growth if people stay inside. God knows, maybe natural causes will happen and they'll find ways to populate and pleasure them and enjoy the community. Anyway, time for a break there now. When we come back, I think we have Tony on the line who wants to talk about Dwight Ball and Gull Island.